if I remember my first estimate, I was shaking.
Yeah, of course. That first time.
It was so noticeably that I was shaking that I didn't get that estimate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
But
embarrassing.
every time you do one estimate to the next one, you sort of learn, okay, I did this, and maybe I could have done this better. So it's
Correct.
sort of that learning process.
Correct.
What do you think was the main factor that led to such exponential growth within your gutter company? So today I have a very special guest, Tim Crouch, very well known in the gutter industry, has been very successful, is now an influencer, has the Gutter Growth podcast. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Not a problem.
Awesome,
Happy to be
man.
here.
So I really want to start from ground zero. I want to uncover how you got started in the gutter industry. So did you start as a technician? How did you get started?
So I did start as a technician, or I guess maybe a helper. I was a personal trainer, so I was doing that for a few years and didn't work out due to the gym that I was at. And one of my clients was a gutter installer, so he kind of roped me into it. I honestly didn't even know what a gutter was when I started. I didn't find out until my first day.
Well, everyone has to start from ground zero, right? And sort of build up their reputation, build up their experience. Now, starting from ground zero instead of just jumping in and getting started with building a company. So you started working with him as a technician and sort of built up that experience. What led to you thinking, okay, now I could start a gutter business?
Well, I mean, I grew up in the restaurant business because my grandfather owned a company, and so I always thought I was going to take over that business. So I think my mentality was always just I was going to be a business owner, and I was before getting into the business because I had my own business doing the personal training for around a year, maybe a little bit less.
So what I'm getting out of this is you sort of have that sort of personable representation of building relationships with people, because a personal trainer has to sort of learn the customer, has to kind of get involved and find their little niche to build that sort of trust. So did that help you in the sales process when it came to starting with the gutter industry?
I'm sure it did, but then if I remember my first estimate, I was shaking.
Yeah, of course. That first time.
It was so noticeably that I was shaking that I didn't get that estimate.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
But
embarrassing.
every time you do one estimate to the next one, you sort of learn, okay, I did this, and maybe I could have done this better. So it's
Correct.
sort of that learning process.
Correct.
Now, so when it comes to building a strategy on how to sort of structure a gutter business, are you just sort of going door to door and knocking, trying to get customers? How did you build that reputation?
I have done that. I did that during like the recession, but I didn't do that for my own company. I was working with another company and they were slow, so he sent me out there knocking on doors, and I actually did start selling jobs that way. That might have been one of the reasons why I was shaking on one of the first estimates.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best way to do it, is just to get face to face with customers. Yep. And then sort of, figure out where's my little niche, or where can I sort of jump in here. So when you first started your gutter business, what were the main challenges that you faced?
Well, I mean, when I first started it, I didn't even have a truck to pull it with, my trailer. So I had a trailer and a machine, but no truck to pull it with. So just getting the trailer to a job was a feat.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because you have to have that revenue coming in before you can reinvest into the business.
Correct.
So once you got that first truck, how did you sort of instill branding? Because did you even have a website at this point?
I didn't. So I guess when I first started, this was like kind of when the yellow pages were going out and the internet was coming in. Mm-hmm. So I didn't have a clear vision or even anyone to really look to. So I think I signed up to like the yellowpages.com, and they had a listing online, I think, and I think it was my first form of advertisement.
Awesome. Yeah. So going back to sort of the old school ways of just like going through the books and then, seeing who you
I
can
was
get in touch
passing out
with.
flyers. I would go to like Home Depot parking lots, Lowe's, and put cards on doors. And
what I'm thinking is that, okay, you started the gutter business, you're reaching out to people through yellow pages, just trying to get a lead whatever way that you can. So who did you look up to, and who did you want to be like when you first were getting started in the industry?
I guess when I first got started, the reason why I came up with the name Gutter Professionals is I was getting work from a company called Roofing Professionals. So I kind of looked up to them to get the name. They didn't know that, but
it makes sense though, because
yeah.
it's important, especially in the gutter industry. I talk to a lot of guys who will get involved with a roofing contractor who, focuses on home development even, and then they send the gutter work over to the next guy. So building those relationships, I think, is really important. So when it comes to, you're building the business, you're starting to build a representation, you're starting to build a reputation. How did you know it was time to scale the business?
I was just ready. Yeah, I was just ready. I wanted to get off the truck. So, I mean, I think that's what most of us, we get out there and we're doing all the installations on our own and we start burning out and you're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. So it was just time to get off the truck.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's sort of the end all goal is because, you have to sort of start, whether you're an owner operator, a lot of people start that way. When you're sort of hiring employees, how did you know to hire the right people? How did you build a solid team around you?
I guess just from being in the industry for so many years, I had like an intuitive feel, whether they were the type that could even handle the type of work.
Absolutely.
Because there's heights involved and you
Yeah.
got to be a right character for it.
Yeah, and I think you can sort of tell, when you're having a conversation with somebody, if they're really in it for the company or maybe if they're sort of straggling behind.
Yep.
So now we're starting to build up the company. You're starting to hire more employees. You're building the reputation. How did you get involved with Mr. Pipeline? How did you first come across Mr. Pipeline?
I think John cold called me.
Did he really?
Yeah.
But that's really cool that you got to collaborate with JM because he really took me under his wing and he really taught me the ropes of the game, how to sort of build a strong representation of the industry. So I know you guys had a lot of phone call conversations, discussed different strategies. What do you think was the main factor that led to such exponential growth within your gutter company?
I mean, I didn't start growing until I hooked up with John. I mean, I was at a point and I was stagnant. Me and him hooked up and then just kept strategizing. But I was always in growth mode. And so I was always looking to like put gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that's what separates the people that are very successful in the industry and the ones that maybe fall behind. The ones that are go-getters and the ones that are willing to do whatever it takes are the ones that are going to make it. And I think you have that drive. And I think teaming up with a company that understands that and that sees the vision is going to be what brings you to that next level.
We were basically from the same cloth.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
It worked out great in that collaboration. So it was just evolving and got better after time.
Awesome. Yeah, and I love to hear that. It's cool to see just like the growth that you've experienced. And one of the things that we're really preaching in the gutter industry is SEO because it's so expensive to advertise. So you have to have that online presence before you can even start paid advertising campaigns. So you have to have the reviews, you have to have the rankings, you have to have the website. So now when we first started doing marketing for gutter professionals, did we start with the website and then into SEO and then into ads? What was that process like?
I had him just take over everything. So we built a new website. I think John, he used to laugh at it, but I had like black lettering was my marketing. It was like gutter professionals and the number, So I think it's the whole look and everything changed.
And I think that's why branding's so important because, when somebody doesn't know about the company or maybe they're not a referral to you directly and they're coming across your business online, if you don't have that branding solidified, then it's, you're not going to gain the customers that you want to. So that's why having the website and everything's so important. But it's cool to see that you were able to give full control to Mr. Pipeline and JM, and that's what sort of, I think, led to such good growth. Because when you have the website, you invest in SEO, and you start doing paid advertisements, and where we maintain full control over that, I think that's where we really get to see that growth. Because when we build a website for somebody, and then we invest into SEO, when we control the website and can do the SEO, that's when we see the real results. So what is your take on Google advertising? What is your,
I love it, to be honest with you. Do I feel like it can be expensive? Yes. But I feel like you should know your numbers, so you should know exactly what it's ending up costing you per each job. Or is it taking you 2 leads to get a sale? How much is each lead costing you? How much is the actual sale costing you? Mm-hmm. And I don't think most people know that number, what the actual cost of getting that job is.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have to break down the metrics, and that's why it's so important that that's all laid out right in front of you. Especially when we're talking about paid advertising, you have to know that bottom line amount, but you also have to invest into the business to grow. So if you're not within every platform and you're not dominating page 1 of Google, no one's going to know who you are.
No one's going to know.
And the cool thing about Gutter Professionals was that you dominated pretty much all of South Florida, Central Florida even, and you really took that to a whole nother level. So that just goes to show you that SEO is not just based off of your local home-based location. It could really expand into all these other locations.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I heard it all the time. I see you guys are everywhere. That's what I would hear when they would call.
Yeah, absolutely. And, other people came in, oh, I heard you manage gutter professionals. Like, that's how'd you guys get there? And it's like, when you give us control and the time it takes to actually, grow the business organically, that's how we're really going to get you the results that you're looking for. So I think that's really important, just having the control, having the focus, having the branding and the website. And you have a lot of knowledge to pass down to people, and that's the biggest reason why I think you're in the position that you're in. People look up to you, people see the mindset and the growth, because I think that's the biggest thing, is having the mindset, understanding that you have to invest to grow, and then, really just partnering up with a company that's actually in it for your business. And I think that's the cool thing. So now that you're doing gutter growth, now that you have other things that you're focusing on, what's sort of the main focus for the future of your personal life and, the future of Tim Crouch?
I don't know. I just constantly like evolving. Last year, I didn't even know how the whole year was going to pan out. Like in the beginning of the year, I didn't know that there was going to be gutter growth. Then we started gutter growth, launched it, and that was a whole experience, and that's still evolving, and it's going to be big. We got some big things that we have planned down the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
That we haven't even talked about yet.
Yeah, and it's cool just to see, the continued growth in all different avenues. And I know you started a holiday lighting company actually the last year as well. So tell me about your first year experience in holiday lighting.
Oh, that was pretty fun. It was fun. It was. I liked it because you're like bringing joy to people.
Absolutely.
And so it was a little bit different sale because I was dealing with an emotional buy, which was a little bit different than the gutters.
Yeah, where it's like a necessity.
Right, right. But I feel like it's a great business for maybe even an add-on service for gutter companies.
And that's the mindset you should have, is okay, we're slow in the wintertime, how do we ramp that up? And it's like, starting holiday lighting is great, but you have to be ready. If you're not just dipping your toes in the water if you're doing holiday lighting, you're either going all in or you're not going in at all. And I think that's important to understand. And that's the same thing in the gutter industry. If you're looking to invest in marketing and grow in the industry, you have to be all in. There's no putting one toe in the water. You have to be ready to go all in.
I think where most people get it wrong is they kind of look at like a marketing expense as like, okay, they're looking at it as like, like when you're budgeting your house, you could afford so much for the house, so much for the car, you're doing your budget.
Yep.
And it's like, this is an expense. But marketing's different because it's not a liability. Where, your house and all that stuff, that's just money out. It's not bringing you anything back, so it's kind of in the liability spot. The thing about advertising, and it's an asset, right? Because you're making money back from it. It shouldn't be looked at as this is my house payment type deal. It should be looked at as how much does the lead cost me? How many leads does it take to get a job? How much does the job cost me? And if you know that number, you can figure out exactly what it's costing you on an average. It's going to be about that much every time. Maybe it varies a little bit, not much. You know how to price your job now. You know how much that the job needs to be so you're not losing money. So, maybe you need to bump your prices up 10% so that you could afford it. But it's bringing you back money. A house payment or something that's just a fixed amount, it's not going to do that. So I don't feel like it should be looked at as like a fixed amount. It should be looked at as how much does each job cost me? How many jobs do I need? If I need more jobs, let me put more into it. Let me put more gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, and I think as you start to build that reputation, it's sort of like, okay, so if I'm investing this much, I built the reputation. People know I do good work. And it's like, okay, it's time to increase prices, because you pay for what you're getting. The quality is there, then the prices need to match that quality.
Correct.
Because that's sort of the biggest thing too. And as you sort of grow the business, you have to find out what's the bottom line and what am I going to charge to do the work. So I think it's important that you reach out within every avenue. And just because you're investing in marketing doesn't mean you pull back from those, door hangers or how you got started. You still need to do the yard
Correct.
signs. You still need to drive around with that truck. You got to have the branding solidified with the wrap and everything like that. So, it's important that you're constantly pushing to become that top dog, because that's how you became in the position that you're in, is you never stop pushing.
You want to keep telling that same story over and over again, whether it's on your box trucks, your invoices, everything wants to show the same story over and over and over again.
Yeah, and I think that's really cool to hear. Congratulations on all the success. It was a pleasure sort of picking your brain, seeing where you're at now, and just seeing the growth that you've experienced. So congratulations. Thank you so much for coming on today, and I look forward to the next one.
Thanks.
All right, pleasure.